Episode 2 opens with a scene from the past, where the 64th archery competition is about to begin. We see the king, accompanied by the principal, enjoying the match. The king remarks to the principal, "I heard that archery training has now been permitted here around the clock." The principal replies that Lien was the one who requested this. Later, the king observes Lien. We notice that Minseo is on Lien's team, while Jongwoo is on Heju's team, indicating that the two are friends. Lien spots a key in Minseo's possession. He recalls a previous scene where Heju had shown him a key and said, "I brought this key specifically for Minseo." He wonders, how did he end up with that key? Meanwhile, Minseo keeps staring at Heju and making crude remarks. His friend asks him, "Why do you hate her so much? Do you actually like her?" But Minseo retorts, "She's despicable. Why on earth would I like her?" Lien, having overheard the entire exchange, turns to Minseo and says, "Your words are grating on my ears. Just shut up." Minseo offers an apology. Later, the first round begins, and the students take their turns at archery. It eventually becomes Heju and Lien's turn. Heju scores 9 points. Lien releases his arrow and scores a perfect 10. In the next scene, the second round commences. Heju once again scores 9 points. Lien glances over at his father before releasing his arrow. We now shift to the present day. Heju and Lien are staring at each other, as Heju has just declared, "I want to marry you." Lien pulls out his fan and begins fanning himself. Heju asks, "You don't seem surprised by what I just said." Lien replies, "Should I be?" Later, Lien mentions that he has already received numerous gifts over the past 2 weeks, all intended for a wedding. "If you wish to marry me, tell me about your dreams." Heju begins to talk about herself, boasting about how much money she possesses. "Look at my beauty, see how pretty I am." She then talks about her brother, remarking on what a fool he is. Heju suggests, once the arranged marriage is over, we can simply get a divorce later. Lien replies, "All right, go on." Heju continues to elaborate, but as Lien keeps pressing her for more details, she finds herself at a loss for what else to say. Outside, we see Iron spy a woman named Aram. She attempts to eavesdrop on their conversation but is unable to hear anything. Just then, Choi arrives, spots her, and asks, "What are you doing?" Aram replies, "I was just carrying some food." Choi says, "Fine, hand it over." Later, Choi enters the room carrying the food. Lien tells him, "Just set the food down and leave." Meanwhile, we turn our attention to Iron. She has summoned Yoon, presumably a young woman from the Kim family, to meet with her. At the company, we see Yoon approaching Heju. She asks, "Did you go to see Lien? What did you two talk about?" However, Heju just keeps laughing uncontrollably. Heju retorts, "It's not like you ever enjoy laughing." She then begins to recount what happened. "He rejected me." We are then shown a flashback of that very scene. Lien says, "All right, there is one thing I require in order to marry you. Can you give it to me?" Heju appears completely confident. Lien then reveals, "That thing is love. I want to be in love." Yoon remarks, "Well, he turned out to be quite the romantic." Heju scoffs, "Romantic? My foot. He was just messing with me." Later, Choi speaks with Lien, saying, "I heard that you two attended the same school. You could have simply rejected her outright. Why did you say such things?" Lien said nothing, he simply kept smiling. Meanwhile, we see Yoon telling Heju, "I need to find another candidate who can marry you." But Heju refuses. Yoon asks, "Do you still want to keep trying so you can get close to Lien?" And Heju answers yes. Yoon replies, "Very well, but you must be honest." Heju insists, "I was completely honest." Yoon retorts, "You talked about your brother, your beauty, and your wealth, implying that you would enter into an arranged marriage only to get a divorce later. That is not honesty." Heju explains, "To get close to him, I have to employ a strategy." Elsewhere, Irene was looking through photographs of various young women. A court lady standing nearby asks, "Wasn't Jing a suitable match for Lien? You did meet her, didn't you?" But Irene replies, "I don't wish to be a matchmaker. I simply want to remain an observer." She then points to a photograph of Heju and says, "I would like to meet this woman." Meanwhile, we see Heju meeting with one of her employees, her PR manager. She tells him how much faith she places in him. The PR manager asks, "Do you truly trust me?" Ju answers yes and says, "I have a secret task that I need you to carry out." Another employee asks, "What happened?" It turns out the PR manager had let slip that Ju was planning to get married soon. The PR manager, leveraging his extensive network of contacts, manages to obtain Leon's schedule. In the next scene, we see him meeting with Ju and handing it over, saying, his schedule is all right here. In the following scene, we see Leon enjoying his time off and going horseback riding. Just then, Ju arrives on horseback as well. She approaches him and says, "It feels like ages since we last met." Leon replies, "But we just saw each other yesterday." Ju says, "Yes, I know, but I missed you." She then moves closer and asks, "How are you feeling?" After that, she leaves. In the following scene, we see Leon eating a meal, but Ju shows up here, too. She winks at him, then sits down nearby and asks, "Why are you eating here? Why didn't you go to your own palace?" He replies, "I'm on vacation." Ju says, "Me too." A moment later, Leon gets up to leave, but Ju stops him, asking, "Where are you going?" Leon is taken aback and asks, "Are you running a background check on me?" She answers, "Yes." Leon asks, "Why?" Ju explains, "Well, you were the one who said you wanted to have a love marriage, so I'm doing all this to make that happen." In the next scene, Leon is in his car when Ju pulls up alongside him in her own vehicle and says, "I missed you." Leon says nothing and simply drives away. In the following scene, he goes to watch a movie, but Ju shows up there as well. She tells him, "I missed you." Later, while he is out for a run, Ju appears right there, too. In the next scene, Leon is returning home. He wonders aloud, "How does she manage to find me every single time? I think there must be something wrong with my outfit. I need to change it." In the next scene, Ju is at her company. Young calls her and says, "We've set up a blind date for you. You absolutely must go. If you don't, father will kill us both and your castle beauty company could get shut down, too. I'm sending you the guy's name, the location, and all the other details right now." Ju agrees. Later, she checks the name which turns out to be Jun and gives him a call. In the next scene, we see the two meeting at the gallery. Jun remarks, "I've heard a great deal about you from your father about your beauty, your intellect, and much more." Ju then begins to speak about her brother, explaining what a good-for-nothing he is. "I simply need a partner to help me reach the very top and defeat him. Will you be able to do that after we're married? You will have to shoulder the responsibility for all of this." At that moment, Choi arrives at the gallery on business and runs into Ju. She bids him farewell. However, she then looks at Jun and says, "Please forgive me. I really should have introduced you to him." Jun feels offended and declares, "I don't want to get married." In the following scene, we see Choi speaking with Leon. He recounts what happened at the gallery. "I saw Ju there, she was with a man. She was probably there for a blind date." Leon becomes furious upon hearing this. Choi adds, "I had a hunch that Iron might have sent Ju there, but I was wrong." This only serves to make Leon even angrier. Choi then begins to speculate, what would happen if Ju and Iron were to go head-to-head? Which of them would emerge victorious? But Leon cuts him off, saying, "Don't talk like that." Choi replies, "All right, please forgive me." He then adds, "I've looked into Ju's background. She doesn't have a single friend, she even eats her meals alone with her assistant." Meanwhile, we see Iron in her room, recalling a scene from the past. She stands before the king, who is about to sign a decree announcing his abdication of the throne. Iron screams out, "You can't do that." The king declares that it is better for him to end it himself. He then proceeds to place a seal on the premises. However, Iran snatches the royal decree and begins to burn it, telling him that it would be better if he simply died. A fire breaks out in the palace, and amidst the chaos, the king passes away. His body is subsequently brought outside. Iran, who is nearby, notices her husband among the onlookers. In the previous episode, we had assumed that this man was Leon's father. However, that turns out not to be the case. He is actually Leon's brother. Leon also arrives at the scene, spots his brother, and immediately demands to know the whereabouts of his nephew, the true heir to the throne. We then realize that Leon has been experiencing a nightmare. He suddenly snaps out of it and wakes up. In the next scene, Choi brings him some tea and asks, "Did you not sleep again?" Meanwhile, we see King Lian. His mother is helping him get dressed, as an awards ceremony is about to take place. The winners of various competitions are scheduled to be honored by the king. Irang asks a court lady when Lian is expected to arrive. She is informed that he will be there within 4 days. Irang tells her son, "Show the public that you are capable of achieving great things even without him." Elsewhere, we see Choi speaking to Lian, observing, "You don't look well. You're sweating. Are you all right?" He then brings up the upcoming event involving Lian's nephew, reassuring him, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." However, Lian replies, "He is my nephew. I know exactly how he will perform." Just then, he receives a phone call. We then see Hui Ju. She is also preparing to attend the awards ceremony. Speaking on the phone, Irang gives her instructions regarding what attire to wear, telling her, "Just wear a simple outfit." Hui Ju replies, "All right, I understand." In the following scene, we see Hui Ju arriving at the event alongside Irang. However, they are subjected to a security check. Hui Ju remarks to Irang, "This is an awards ceremony and I am one of the winners here. Our security gets checked as well." Azang whispers, "Speak softly, the media is here." Lin was seated in a room, surrounded by several men. He felt extremely nervous. Just then, his uncle Lian arrived and asked him, "Are you ready?" Lin nodded in affirmation. Moments later, as the doors swung open, they prepared to make their entrance at the event. The blinding flashes of cameras greeted them, causing Lin to flinch in panic. However, Lian took his hand, guided him forward, and led him onto the stage. The king presented them with their awards. Then came Hui Ju's turn. She stepped up to receive her award, a ceremonial cap. She turned to Lin and said, "You put it on me yourself." Lin did exactly as she asked. Afterward, she turned to Lian and said, "Now it's your turn. Give me my gift." But Lian replied, "You've already received your gift." She countered, "That was from the king. I missed you." He offered no response. Once the event concluded, Hui Ju, still wearing the cap, snapped several selfies and posted them online. Meanwhile, in Jing Yu's office, his secretary arrived to provide an update on the event. Jing Yu was scrolling through photos of Hui Ju when he turned to his secretary and said, "All right, I'm leaving now." Lin also exited the event venue. He asked his uncle, "Won't you come along?" But his uncle replied, "I'm off duty right now. You'll have to go alone." Lin proceeded to do just that. Azang was accompanying Hui Ju, ensuring that all the necessary photos for PR purposes were captured. Suddenly, Hui Ju noticed that Jing Yu had arrived at the venue. Later, the two of them went to a restaurant, where Jing Yu congratulated Hui Ju on her award. Jing Yu then remarked, "You should take off that cap." Hui Ju asked, "What's the matter? Does it not look good on me?" Jong-woo insists that it is nothing serious, but points out that everyone is staring at them, making the situation incredibly embarrassing. Later, Hui Ju reacts in much the same way. The two then begin reminiscing about their school days. We are shown a flashback scene where an archery match is about to take place, and Hui Ju is training Jong-woo. She moves in close to him, demonstrating exactly how to release an arrow. However, Jong-woo is completely captivated by her presence. It is in this very moment that he falls in love with her. Hui Ju, meanwhile, urges him to focus on the task at hand. Back in the present, Hui Ju offers to treat him to a meal. Jong-woo, however, refuses, insisting that since she won an award today, the treat must be on him. We then see Choi entering a pharmacy to pick up some medication. Later, he hands it to Lian and suggests that he should go to Noble Hospital for treatment. Lian, however, declines, explaining that he cannot do so because the hospital is frequented by many of Ah Room's relatives. He fears that Ah Room would inevitably find out about his condition. At this time, Lian is staying at a hotel. We also spot Hui Ju at the same hotel. She is inside but soon steps out. She breaks into a dance of celebration because the photos she had posted using Lian's hashtag have gone viral, bringing her newfound fame. In the next scene, a doctor is examining Lian, with Hui Ju and Choi standing nearby. Lian is asleep during this examination. Choi had previously informed the doctor about Lian's insomnia. When the doctor steps out, Hui Ju speaks to him and requests that her name rather than Lian's be listed on the patient records. She explains that she does not want anyone outside the immediate circle to discover what Lee-en is going through. The doctor agrees, assuring her that he understands. Meanwhile, Ah-rum is with her son. She looks at photos from the recent event, noting that Lee-en was present alongside her son. She then lashes out at her son, shouting, "I explicitly told you that you had to handle all of this without him. Why did you go with him?" Later, the court lady speaks with Iron, reminding her that Lee-en is still just a child. "You shouldn't be saying things like that," she advises. Iron recalls how Lee-en had appeared frail and weak to Flash, causing him to become visibly anxious. She confides in the court lady, saying, "I have a feeling he might be just as fragile as my husband was." Iron then asks the court lady, "Did you find out where Lee-en is?" The court lady replies, "Yes, I did." The scene shifts to the hotel, where Hee-ju brings in some sandwiches and shares them with Choi. She asks him, why is Lee-en staying at a hotel? Shouldn't he have gone to Noble Hospital? Choi explains that Lee-en tries to avoid attention. If word gets out at the palace that he has a fever or that he's going through all this, everyone will rush to wait on him hand and foot. All sorts of doctors would be summoned, and the public would start spreading all kinds of gossip. That is why Lee-en is trying to steer clear of all that. He continues, "When all this happened to Lee-en, I honestly didn't know what to do. But thanks to your help, everything turned out fine. You called the doctor. Thank you for everything." Just then, Choi receives a message informing him that Iron is on her way. He tells Hee-ju, "You have to hide. The queen is coming." In the next scene, Iron arrives. Choi is standing right in front of her. Iron commands, "Get out of my way." Choi steps aside as instructed. Iron enters the room, where we see that Lee-en is undressed. Lee-en approaches Iron and asks, "Couldn't you have waited outside?" Iron turns and heads back out. However, just as she is leaving, she spots Hee-ju's bag. Suspicion immediately arises in her mind, and she storms back inside only to find Hee-ju right there with Lee-en. Iron is left convinced that something must have happened between the two of them. She tells Lee-en that, for whatever offenses he has committed, he must come to the palace to provide an explanation. In the next scene, we see Hee-ju sleeping at a hotel. Yi-jung calls her and asks, "Where are you?" Hee-ju tells her exactly where she is. I-jung says, "Okay, stay right there. I'm coming to you." In the next scene, we see I-jung arrive at Hee-ju's location. News has leaked to the public that something is going on between Lee-en and Hee-ju, and that the two were together at a hotel. People are speculating that she might be his secret girlfriend. However, Hee-ju remains completely unfazed. She actually views this situation as an opportunity. I-jung, on the other hand, becomes extremely nervous. Hee-ju tells her to calm down, assuring her that no one will actually believe the rumors. But I-jung retorts, "Why wouldn't they believe it? Everyone has the evidence. Look at the photos. Lee-en checked in at a specific time, and you stepped out at a specific time to grab a sandwich before going back inside. The public is even claiming you're pregnant, simply because there happened to be a doctor at the hotel." Upon hearing all this, Hee-ju bursts into laughter. Hee-ju insists that it's really no big deal. I-jung asks, "Why isn't it a big deal? Lee-en is a massive idol star. He has countless fans who adore him." But Hee-ju simply replies, "Well, I don't love him." I-jung shouts at her in frustration, causing Hee-ju to fall silent for a moment. However, Hee-ju soon brings up the pregnancy rumor again and starts laughing once more. Youngwoo also gets wind of the news and heads over to the palace. Meanwhile, Lee-en steps out of the hotel and gets into his car. Choi suggests, "Let's head to the palace," but Lee-en dismisses the idea, saying, "Forget it, let's go to my private residence instead." Choi points out, "But everyone is waiting for you there. Youngwoo has arrived as well." Lee-en replies, "So what? Just drive me to my private residence. That's where I'll meet Hee-ju." In the following scene, we see Hee-ju arrive at the residence, where everyone welcomes her and escorts her inside. Outside, all the staff members were gossiping about the two of them, speculating that they might be dating. Aram was also present with them. However, butler Young-moon interjected, saying, "I've told you 100 times they are not dating." Lee-en then said, "Please forgive me. All of this happened to you because of me. People are criticizing you." But Hee-ju replied, "It's quite alright, it's no big deal." Lee-en, however, insisted, "It does matter to me. What is your heart's desire? I will fulfill it." Ju smiled and asked, really? But you already know what it is I want to marry you. Ju then pointed to some flowers and remarked, these are the very flowers I received when I defeated you. We then cut to a flashback scene depicting the 64th archery competition. Lien released his arrow, but he lost the match. Ju said to him, I know you lost on purpose. Ju then began to speak about her brother. She recounted how, during their school days, she had been expelled, yet, everyone around her seemed to be waiting for her to make a mistake, hoping that if she slipped up, her brother would be reinstated in her place. Why does my family love him so much? Is it simply because he is a boy? Or is it because he is the legitimate heir? Or perhaps I should say it is because he married into a noble family. Lien listened intently, then said, very well. You may become my wife. However, once that happens, the entire nation will turn against you. You must be prepared to face that. Upon hearing this, Ju smiled, and the episode came to an end. So, guys, we'll catch you in episode 3. Until then, bye.